to the cloud.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale September 16th through the 19th and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast. I'm Danny Sheriff, your host, certified fertility awareness practitioner, functional nutrition counselor, and founder of the HA Society, and of course, an HA recovery coach who has walked where you currently are walking. This is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. So let's dive in. But last thing, nothing on the show should be taken as medical advice, so please seek the advice of your physician. So, over a year ago, I created something called the 7-Day HA Recovery Commitment Challenge, and I've been running it for over a year. It was this free email-based challenge, so lots of reading, but you would get an email every day for 7 days to help you overcome and tackle the different but important areas that you need to be checking off in order to get your period back. Now, over time, I have collected some really great feedback, and upon working with all of these wonderful, amazing women, really started to learn even more about what works and what doesn't. And so I'm excited to be introducing to you guys the updated version. It's called the 7-Day HA Recovery Kickoff, and it is totally designed to help you not just commit to the process and have all of your ducks in a row in terms of important factors that need to be tackled and issues that need to be overcome in order to get your period, but the whole thing is now based in video. So you can listen/watch, and every day for 7 days, we will tackle nutrition. There's actually 2 days of that because it's so big. We'll tackle lifestyle, we'll tackle exercise, your support network, your mindset game. Each video goes from anywhere between 12 minutes and 5 minutes, so it's not very long, but you'll get all of the most important areas and the best tips and strategies for how to implement them. Because I know that going through recovery is hard. There's always an area for each person that is a little bit difficult to execute on. And so the goal, or maybe a lot difficult. So the goal of this challenge is to help you have the awareness, the self-awareness, and the tools and strategies you need to overcome each of the different issues that AHA recovery faces for us. So get on it. It's great if you're at the very beginning of recovery or if you're halfway through. I mean, we never know how far through we are until it's over, do we? But no matter where you're at, it can be a really good opportunity to check in and look for blind spots and areas where you might be dropping the ball in your nutrition, in your lifestyle, in, maybe it's your support network that's a problem. Maybe exercise is something that you are still struggling with making changes to. So check it out. Go to thehasociety.com/7-day-challenge, or the link will be on the website. So it maybe in the show notes of this show. It may not be. Just go to the hasociety.com and you'll find it in the footer, or you'll find it in the pop-up that happens when you visit the page. And we will see you for day 1 of the challenge.
Wonderful. Hey everyone, welcome back to the AJ podcast. I'm excited to be bringing you guys a guest episode today. I feel like I haven't been doing enough of them lately, so this is exciting. Everybody, please welcome Ema Taylor. She is a degree qualified naturopath, clinical nutritionist, and certified fertility awareness educator. Her mission is to help you understand your miraculous body's wisdom, find harmony with your hormones, and optimize your fertility so that you can live a more empowered life. She does many things, right, with all of those amazing qualifications. And when you go to her website, and I'll get her to share more about it with you, but she works with both couples and individual women in general for any kind of fertility challenge, right? So you could work with her to get your period back. Maybe you get your period back and you're trying to conceive and you're like hitting roadblocks. Because you, like me, she's fascinated with fertility awareness and tracking cervical mucus and temperature and fertility and supporting your entire body to be overall healthy, but especially in preconception. She'd be a really great person to talk to and learn from. And thus, I'm excited to have her on the show. Ema, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Danny. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Yes. Before we really dive into like the tactical, healing, get your period back, optimize everything, I want to hear a bit about your story and kind of what brought you here and sort of what brings you onto this show. Will you share?
Of course, I'd love to. Well, let's go back to when I was 16 without being too much of a long story, but it really all began with the oral contraceptive pill, as many women's journeys, hormonal journeys do. I was on the pill for about 5 years, from 16 to 21, when I decided I wanted to come off it. And once I transitioned off the pill, my cycle didn't return for 3 years. So yeah, it's a long time. So during this time, I actually saw a number of GPs, so doctors and gynecologists, but never really got the support that I needed. I was actually diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome initially.
Of course you were.
Without proper investigation, might I add. And I was just sort of told to not worry. If ever I wanted children, there's always IVF. And that, of course, really made me carry around this belief that I wouldn't have an easy time conceiving when I was ready to do so. So, I always tell my client to be conscious of the stories that you carry. Yes, but I was misdiagnosed, and it wasn't until later, in hindsight, that I realized I didn't actually have polycystic ovarian syndrome. I had, in fact, hypothalamic amenorrhea. And why I can confidently say that is really taking a snapshot and look at that time of my life. So I lived overseas in London at the time. I was away from all my family and friends. I was actually working as a fashion model at the time. And as you can imagine, you become a product of your environment, particularly in that industry.
I can't imagine, yeah.
So it was an incredible experience. I don't regret one day of it. It was very stressful. And I am a very proactive and ambitious person. And in this, which I should note can be kind of seen as a perfectionist trait, which I'll talk a little bit more about.
When's your birthday?
1st of February, so I'm Aquarius.
Okay. Fair enough. I don't know. I probably couldn't care less. But I have heard that it's like a specific trait of my, I'm a Capricorn, but like, I don't know, it's probably a trait of them all.
Probably.
So don't worry. Okay. Yes. Ambitious person. Check. The first box is checked.
Yeah, the first box is checked. And I guess in that industry, really, in my mind, quote unquote, the only way of bettering myself as a model was to look better, which is so fickle, right? It's really hard as there's already too much pressure on you. So the way I could do this was take control of being in shape exercising more, watching what I ate, tick, 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 those boxes.
Yeah.
So I turned pescatarian, and while I definitely always ate, I was picky in what I ate. I missed whole food groups. I definitely wasn't getting enough protein, fats, or carbohydrates. I absolutely over-exercised. Looking back, I just can't even believe what I was doing then. I would walk for over an hour to get to the gym, and then I would do one class, sometimes a back-to-back class, which is just wild, nearly 3 hours of exercise in a day. I would also be constantly walking around London to castings. And in hindsight, when I do think back, this was also a way to kind of use up my time because I wasn't truly happy there. Like, I didn't have friends.
Kept you busy and distracted. Oh, yeah. Interesting. I'm right. I'm making notes.
Yeah, this can also be, one of those, it might not be intentional, but it's just something that you found yourself doing in your life. So with all of this, of course, my period wasn't going to return. And intuitively, I actually realized that what I was doing wasn't conducive to having a regular period at the time. However, I didn't really know what else to do to regain it. I wasn't feeling well. And I guess this coupled with seeing how other women in my circles or other models were restricting food and had that negative relationship with themselves, this was actually a really big driver for me to start studying. And I began studying a Bachelor of Health Science, majoring in naturopathy from Australia distance. So from a distance. So I was studying in the UK online from an Australian college. And really kind of this started that interest in my healing journey because I wasn't getting the help I needed from GPs or gynecologists. I began I was my own guinea pig. So I began making big changes, and one of the most drastic was moving home to Australia. So that in itself was a huge relief. A really big exhale, stress relief. I began eating red meat again. I drastically reduced the amount of exercise I was doing. I was just feeling so much happier and less anxious in general. And actually at the time I was also working with a naturopath. So she had me on specific supplements to improve deficient biochemistry, which was a lot, might I add. I had low everything because I wasn't eating properly, and specific herbs to encourage ovulation. And 3 years later, I got my period back.
Okay, after 3 years. So what was it? What were the big things that actually helped?
The big things that actually helped was the holistic care, and this is really how I work with my clients in my clinic. Do you want me to dive a bit more deeply?
Yeah, this is a great segue actually into healing HA holistically. Like, what does that mean? So longtime listeners of this show know that we generally take a holistic approach, right? We take a food first, a rest first, a you first approach. We talk about, I'm currently in the middle of doing like an adaptogen series. We talk about these things as ways to support, but we don't really have anyone on our show talking about like how to get your period back using medication and synthetic hormones and things like that. So in general, this is a holistic podcast, but what does it mean to you, and what does it mean in the way that you practice?
Yeah, I love that question. So your longtime listeners likely know that what the cause of HA is, but in case anyone is new to the podcast, essentially that communication between the brain and the ovaries, which initiates ovulation and menstruation, is impaired. So the most common causes of HA, as many of your listeners would know, is due to either psychological or physiological stress on the body, which is primarily over exercising and under eating. So really the holistic way of regaining your period is we really need to reinitiate that communication between the brain and the ovaries. So similarly to what you said, and I love, that you do take that holistic approach with your clients. The first thing I look at is nutrition, and I send my client for bloods. So we do a deep dive into pathology and just to investigate any underlying nutritional deficiency. So when we're not eating correctly, it's really likely that there's going to be deficiencies. So namely iron or B12 or zinc calcium, magnesium, all the things, right? And this is all going to impact the way sex hormones are produced, created in the body. So sort of from there, I can see from a biochemical perspective what is deficient for a woman. And then I zoom out, and then I look broadly at her diet. And I am always very gentle in my approach, because often women with HA, myself included, don't or didn't have the best relationship with food. So I don't want this to be like, you have to begin eating loads of carbs and loads of this. It's let's start slowly and slowly introduce a little bit more protein, complex carbohydrates and fats. So really it's kind of seeing where they might be going, where they might be needing a little bit of support in their diet. And it's very common for me to see my HA clients restricting dietary fats and carbohydrates and not eating adequate amounts of protein. And these are
so everything,
right? And they're usually the fun, like not funny, but like the well-intentioned thing is they're often eating loads of wonderful, colorful vegetables and really thinking that they're being super healthy. And that's health for sure. But we really need, like, fats should constitute about 20 to 30% of total energy intake from over the day. Fats are actually fundamental for hormone production, as cholesterol is the precursor to sex hormones, and cholesterol is made from fats.
Yeah.
So I really encourage like higher intake of oily fish, vegetarian sources of fat, so like avocado, nut seeds, cold pressed oils. I encourage a complex carbohydrate in every meal. This can be really scary for a lot of women with HA. This was scary for me. I remember I didn't avoid carbohydrates completely, but I was just a little bit conscious of them.
We see a bit of everything, right? It is enjoyable in a way at some point. I mean, I've reached a point where I find it enjoyable to get the food logs. The way we do it is actually their first intake is a written log, but when they become a client, they do a visual. We just use an app called Food View. They just take some quick snapshots. We found that this is the easiest thing, and they can provide a description. But it's quite enjoyable to just look at it and be like, what are the beliefs or the habits or the food rules that I know that you have had? And like you can see visually, there are no fat person, there are no carbs person, they just don't eat any protein type person, or like often all of the above, you know. And it's kind of like the more you do it, the better you get at identifying the gaps. Yeah.
Totally. And I often say it doesn't have to be hard. It actually doesn't have to be this really whiz-bang, you know, quote unquote diet you're on. It's really just about whole foods, incorporating and enjoying. And enjoying is a really, really important word here. It's like switching that guilt around eating to enjoying your food and feeling satiated with your meals. You know, with protein, again, I think this is a really, really important one. It stabilizes blood glucose levels. And with stable blood glucose levels, we stabilize cortisol. So that's less stress in your body, less feeling anxious. It's really, I always encourage my clients to have a protein source before 10 a.m. to stabilize cortisol and blood sugar. And often, I don't know about you, Danny, but I often see women who have HA fast. They love fasting. And instead of eating breakfast, they might be having this coffee to get them through. And they're ravenous a lot of the time, but they're sort of being really strict with, no, I'll just have this bulletproof coffee and I'll get myself through. But that in itself is stimulating cortisol and adrenaline through the body. So it's just this fuel to the fire.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about this, because we talk about this on the show all the time. And so it's always good when it's like, see guys, that's not just me. You know, these are facts. Yeah. Step one is basically, look at their diet. How are they probably not helping their blood sugar balance? Like, what do we need to incorporate to bring this into effect so that we can lessen the stress response? And y'all, they know coffee. And I'm a coffee freak. I'm from Australia. Come on. But you know, it's a no-go, especially before you've eaten in the morning, right? Like these are the big rocks, the things that are very common themes in women with HAS. Surviving on coffee to get through because you can't eat your lunch till 12. This, common.
And from like understanding the mechanisms in the body can really make that penny drop. If you're like, oh, everyone just tells me to stop drinking coffee, but quite literally it shifts us into this sympathetic nervous system dominant state, so also known as that fight or flight state. And when we are in that state, our body literally shuts off the reproductive system to keep us safe. It's really to keep us safe, because when you think back thousands of years ago, when we were in this nervous system state, we were in danger. So a protective mechanism was, well, we're not in a safe place to have a baby. And while we don't want to have a baby every single month, this is just the way the body works. So really simplified, that's
100%.
Really.
And when you think about the world we live in, right, the culture, achieve, be everything, do everything, drink all this coffee just to get through, like the stress response, that spike of cortisol, what's going on is that's a 20-minute process to come down from, right? Like every single time you spike your cortisol, you put yourself in a stressful situation, which is often for many people all the time. And it takes you 20 minutes to get out of that. If you're doing that multiple times a day, every day for a year, it's going to have a toll. But like to kind of the point you said, people are just like, oh, they're just going to tell me not to drink coffee again. Like we hear these things and we're like, that's just a small thing. It can't possibly be that. My infertility cannot possibly be linked to the simple fact that I drink a lot of coffee. Well, it's like, well, yes, it is. And it's not just the coffee in a vacuum, right? It's the ripple effect. And it's how it's causing you to react to the other areas of your life. Yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah, and I often say there's so many other delicious hot beverages. I think honestly, when you keep honest with yourself, it's habitual. There's so many other delicious beverages like matcha or chai or hot cacao, all of those. Yes, they have caffeine, but not the amount that coffee does.
You know what it was for me?
Yeah.
The calories. It's like, oh, but coffee's calorie free.
Yeah, this is that mindset.
Like I feared a milk coffee. I feared a hot chocolate or a chai tea or whatever. It was like, it was one of the things that I had to, to actively,
Yeah. And that, that's another point, right? Is that calm, like that mindset. But I guess the next, well, I suppose I can jump down to the mindset before I kind of work on movement as well, but it's all the same. But that nervous system support is so important to be able to actually integrate the nutrition and lifestyle and exercise changes. You need to have a calm nervous system to be in a good place. And actually research has shown that women with HA have up to 30% higher cortisol than women with normal healthy cycling.
I love that stat. Okay.
Yeah. Also, you might love this one, Danny, that women with HA, research has shown, have perfectionist behavior and tendency to attempt unrealistic number of tasks in a day. Yeah. I like that as well, because I'm like, it's true.
I do love that fact, because so I'll go through like an intake form for someone, and at some point I eventually just check a box on my sort of form that I look at myself when I'm going through one that's just like all the standard HA tendencies check. Like I basically just have a box for that. Because it really is so common. And yeah, it's curious, like chicken or the egg, does like being in this state for a long time cause the cortisol to rise a lot? Or is it people with a lot of cortisol have a tendency to have HA? It's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's that initial, I guess, perfectionism, right? Of like, do more, be more, do more, be more.
Society, yeah.
So I guess, as I said, when a woman is in this heightened nervous system state, you literally won't be able to heal. We need to be in the parasympathetic nervous system state to heal. This is when our body takes a big exhale and is able to actually recover and heal, and the sex hormones are able to be produced. So a big part of the work I do with my women is nourishing the nervous system and making it fun. I don't, first and foremost, being like really encouraging my clients to be gentle with themselves. Already sitting in front of me or sitting in front of you, Danny, they've made a huge commitment to be working on themselves. So that should be totally seen, and celebrated. So, and then I'm always encouraging them to do something fun. It doesn't have to mean, if you don't like meditation, you don't have to do meditation, but we know meditation's great. But other different practices such as yoga or journaling or nature time or any self-care practices that help you feel like you're shaking the day's stresses off and you're feeling light and fun and yourself. I feel like there's so much, like we keep saying, that external pressure of doing more as a woman. It's like, actually, what do you want to do? When do you feel most calm and safe?
Yeah, that's so kind of talking about like when you're looking at a woman and you actually see she's checking all the boxes and still no period. I mean, yeah, that's a huge red flag that like, well, what's your outlook on life? Like, when's the last time you had genuine fun consistently? And when you give that permission, so much of it is permission for some reason, right? And I'm same with that permission to just like be and not achieve. Like I've done this fun practice that you might like, which is basically like, and maybe you've done it. Your to-do list, let's do it. Okay. Now put it in order of priority. Everything underneath number 1, you don't do. And that's how we do it. And it's mind blowing to us. Cause it's like, what do you mean? Like these other things are critical. And it's like, no, they're not number 1. During this time, that's it.
I love that. I read the other day that a woman on average has 300 points on her to-do list. I mean, really, we're never going to get through that.
Yeah. I mean, I am so this person. This person. I love to try and I'll start the day and be like, I can crush through all of this. And then I'm 2 tasks in. I'm like, this is not going to happen. And that's 100% an area I'm working on right now, is creating space, boundaries, and doing more of nothing is a full-on goal. And I've reached a point where I feel guilty if I do too much work.
I think there is a societal change, and I hope, I don't know if it's just my bubble, but that shift in going, I don't want to hustle. I don't want to be that Russian woman syndrome, that busy. Actually, there's so much power in being peaceful. And I love what you said, Danny, with the permission. You've nailed that. I often say to my clients, even myself, I needed permission to change from being a pescatarian to a meat eater. I needed permission. I needed a reason, and because otherwise I wasn't being true to what I'd said I was, and I think this is so common in women where they said, no, this is the way I eat. I'm a vegetarian or a vegan or whatever. Sometimes just giving them permission and a reason as to why, that it's going to be so fundamental for their health, allows them to make that change without feeling guilt.
Yeah. And I also was the same. Yeah. Permission to have 3 large meals a day. It's like, and to stop working out so much, yada, yada. This story that's okay for everyone else, but for me, it's not acceptable.
Yeah. Which leads to the movement, right? And the endocrine system seems to function best when we as women adopt a philosophy of moderation in all of the things. So I work with my clients to find a really nice balance of movement that feels good for them, that's going to support their hormonal health. Now, one thing I do advise to cease is high intensity interval training for at least 3 months while we work together on their cycle. This is going to give you the reason behind it is it's going to give you the best chance of regaining your cycle. It's, when we think about it, it's again that fuel, cortisol, adrenaline, fuel to the fire. So we really devise a movement routine that encompasses low intensity exercises with strength training. So they're still feeling like they're able to move their body, which of course is so important for mental health and wealth and stress relief, all of those really, it's important for the nervous system, but it's just finding that balance and really taking it down, having at least 2 rest days a week, just some kind of.
Yeah. We're pro move your body over here as well, because the actual proven benefits of exercise can't be ignored. What it is our relationship with it and abusing it, right? And that's where we need to come into check. So fully agree, right? Like when you're doing high intensity interval training during recovery, you are constantly disrupting all the work that you've done to rest and to go into chill mode. And I think what's so hard for people is like, it just doesn't seem fair. You know, everyone said like exercise is good for you. Like and all the stories we have around what it means about us when we take rest days, what it means about us that I haven't worked out for 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people. And so I don't know about you, but I get a lot the thing of like, but it's just my only stress relief. But I truly love it. Like, yeah, like and really what they're saying is like, I will not let go. Like, help me get my period back without making these changes. And it's like, okay, well, let's just chip away at reducing it and give you the evidence you need and basically work through the narrative going on in your brain about, you know, what you're believing about exercise. It's not true. We need to dismantle it and then rebuild a healthier relationship with it going forward. Yeah,
it's so true. And even on, I guess, on that, it's like doing it gently, like you said, you know, just slowly. But I also often say to my clients that I'm not here to be a martyr to like force you to do something. You're here because you're wanting to make the changes. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You've been you've been exercising the way you've been exercising for however many years. It's not helping you. So the only way we are going to see if we can improve your health is to make these gentle changes. And the power's up to you. You've got the information. You know, you're the one who is going to put these practices into action in each of your days. So you have to be ready. And that's a big part of it, right? If you're not ready, the changes aren't, you're not going to heal.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of gentle, but being realistic.
I love it. Yeah. Come to us. It's okay if you're scared.
But you do need to be willing to try.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because again, like, I love this quote. It's always quoted, but the definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a result, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So we have to make these changes. And like I've said a few times, it doesn't have to be, all right, tomorrow, no exercise, you're eating this. It's like, we just make them slowly over months and months and months. And you will, I promise you'll notice change.
Yeah. Yes. And it's like, it's slow. But when you zoom out, because you're taking this slow route, it feels, and you're living in your body every day, right? Every single day. So it feels like it's taking forever, but you zoom out and it's really only been 3 months, and look at all of the progress that you have made mentally and physically. You're not cold anymore. Your hair stopped falling out. Like, the period isn't the only thing that the body's working on.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything along the way. So I guess to close up that question, the other part of the puzzle that the tools I utilize to support women in regaining their cycle is through individualized supplements. So any that are required to correct the nutritional deficiencies that they may have had that I've noticed on their pathology. So, but definitely these 3 main supplements I always give my clients is zinc, magnesium, and B6, because they're the cofactors for hormone production. So they're a must-have. And then again, if there's anything else going on, like often there's calcium deficiency, but B12, because perhaps they may not have been eating enough animal proteins, etc. So we do that individually. Then from a herbal perspective, we are so fortunate to have such incredible herbs that excel in women's reproductive health. And they're so helpful in regaining your cycle and regaining ovulation if you have HA or really any other reproductive concerns. So really the goal with herbal medicine is to reestablish that communication between the hypothalamus and the ovaries and calm the nervous system down and support the adrenals. We're just thinking like when the body is truly nourished, it will regain its cycle. It wants to be in balance. So some of the herbs that I utilize One is called tribulus, and this is I pulse this herb throughout the cycle, and it mimics gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, and that's what that triggers, initiates the start of that hormonal communication that initiates ovulation. I love peony. This is a herb that supports estrogen, adequate levels of estrogen in the body. You may have all heard of this herb called chaste tree, also known as Vitex agnus castus. Now, it's an amazing herb, and I do definitely use it with my women to encourage ovulation and adequate progesterone levels. But I really would put like a little asterisk beside this, that with all herbs, please don't self-prescribe, because it's dose dependent. They're always individualized depending on how long we give it to you for, when we give it to you in the cycle, or if you're not cycling, how many days, etc. Is it pulsed? It's very important, because I see so many women self-prescribing Vitex doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
So just have to put that little footnote.
And to add to, like, the other benefit of getting it prescribed to you by someone else is this unbiased view that, like, you have the foundational rocks in place too, right? You're not just going to be like, take these and not do the lifestyle changes that are required, right? It's like, once we have those in check, and I know that we're on the same page, you may have some supplements.
That's exactly right. It's a process, it's not just, I often say this as well, we can't bypass true lifestyle and dietary changes by supplements. We can't bypass. It's not going to work. I actually tried it myself. When I was
for sure. Same.
Yeah. And it doesn't work.
That's actually a big part. Like, so I have a co-coach, Ashley, and she's on the show a lot too. And we're currently putting together a program. And in general, we also like work together on most of our client cases. And just today, we're working through like our syllabus for this program. And I'm like, I really want to do a module that kind of goes through a lot of the supplements that I really like beef liver, yada, yada. And she's just like, yeah, but she always pushes back because from her perspective, it's like, she worries that if we give people the supplement route, they'll skip which is totally valid, because we see people try to do that for sure. But it's so tough, because it's like, but it is important and it is extremely helpful, and we have to put it in there. And she's like, fine. But yeah, like that push-pull is there for all of us.
Yes.
When it comes to talking about supplements. So it's so important that we always reiterate, like, the foundations have to be in there first, but then supplementation can be so helpful, because like you said way earlier back in the episode already, when we've had HA for a long time, there's going to be a deficiency in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And there's so much you can do through food as the foundation. So that's why Danny and I are saying this, is like, we want food to be number one, supplements second, right? Because this is long-term in your control and power to ensure that you're completely nourished. Supplements, as the name suggests, supplement a diet, and they should be used for a period of time and then tape it off. So yeah, I love that. I love that you're conscious of that in your syllabus as well. And I guess it's just reiterating it, isn't it?
Yeah. Over and over again. I have this whole adaptogen series, and I pretty much for like at the beginning and end of all of them. It's like sandwiched in.
I use those a lot in my HA clients.
Oh, nice.
And which you probably know, it's becoming a little bit of a common one, which is great because it's sensational, is withania. And this is a known adaptogen. It's also known as ashwagandha. So you might know it as
yes.
that.
Okay.
And this calms the nervous system, reduces cortisol, supports adrenals, supports that threshold of stress. So really like builds that threshold out, so you're not sort of being triggered as easily.
Yeah, like makes you more adapted to stress, right? Yeah, I'm currently on it. I'm on probably my like 6th week of giving it a shot. So I think I feel pretty good. I haven't had any emotional breakdowns.
I'm on it as well. I give it to pretty much all my clients who need a little bit of nervous system support.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we're coming up on time, but I feel like we've covered some really good stuff. I was curious, just to kind of finish up. I know that a lot of your clientele are, conception clients, right? Funnily enough, most people want to deal with this problem at that point. What is it about, like, what are some tips, if you will, some practical, tactical things that people can do? They're checking the boxes, like we've already just talked about. You've gone through a few of the herbs already. Maybe there's some more herbs or some more supplements you want to recommend. What else can people do to help support their body in regaining their cycle along the way?
I love that question. And, this is a really big one, because I do see a lot of women who are like, they've gone off the pill, for example, they don't get their period. It's been a year or a bit. And they're like, but I really want to conceive. I want to conceive yesterday. So when you're doing all the things that we've just worked through, there are a few other suggestions, particularly for this phase of life. So number one is really trusting your body. Trust that your body has the innate ability to heal when given the chance. So I really want you to kind of tap in and acknowledge that you're doing the work. That can in itself can just be an exhale and a little bit of a weight off your shoulders. Perhaps you could write, I know this sounds funny for some people or a bit woo, but even writing down an affirmation or journaling this down. I trust my body. I trust that it has the innate ability to heal. And I trust that I'm doing everything I can in my power to bring back my cycle. I would really encourage you to begin charting your cycle. I know Danny speaks about this a lot. And as a fertility awareness educator, this is one of the best tools you can use for conceiving, because it will give you real-time insight into hormonal changes as you are on your healing journey. So you will actually see cervical mucus changes that are going to be inspiring and encouraging, that are going to indicate you are nearing ovulation, that all the work you are doing is actually working, which is so exciting. So, and when you do get your cycle back, this is key information to know and to utilize for optimizing your chances of conceiving each cycle. So that's a really big one I would suggest. Another tip would just be calling your support team. You don't have to do this alone. Find a team of practitioners and loved ones that can support you on this journey, because I know it can feel really lonely at times. Often we keep our fertility journeys to ourselves, of course, but find the ones you love and feel that support and get the right help by the right practitioners is a big one. So you're not sort of wasting time and energy and money. And then I guess finally, I would say, kind of leading off from this one, is get your partner on board with beginning preconception care. Because while you are making all these positive changes to your health, your partner can also in a different way, but this will undoubtedly improve his fertility, his sperm quality, and overall health for when your cycle returns and you're actually ready to bring a healthy baby into the world. So I really always advise my clients to have a minimum of 3 months preconception care, because this is, it takes 76 days for sperm to regenerate, 100 days for an egg to regenerate or to develop, should I say. So this beautiful, unique phase of 3 months is the perfect time for your partner to be really optimizing his sperm and fertility while you're working toward regaining ovulation. I just feel like it makes you feel like you're a better team. You're on this journey together.
Hell yeah. Team is incredibly important, because your environment around you, if it is not conducive to recovery, if you're just doing the same thing over and over again out there, surrounded by the same messages and the same people and yada, yada, it's like you really do need to, for lack of a better term, manipulate your environment a little bit for you to be successful. And the best way to do this is to ask for the support. And if you cannot ask for the support, avoid the non-supporters, like critical. And you're having a team, having people who get it, like having community. You have to. You can't do it alone. Love it. Appreciate it. Emma, where can people best learn about you and reach out to you if they would like to get support from you, or even just, read or see some of the amazing things that you put out there?
Yeah, so you can come and say hello to me on Instagram at Ema Taylor Naturopathy. Emma is spelled with one M. This is where I post a lot of content about fertility and hormones. You can pop over to my website, which is www.emataylor.com, and this is where you can learn about my online fertility course called Fertile Foundations, in which I support couples all over the world on their fertility journey. I also offer one-on-one worldwide consultations, and I write as well, so you can take a big deep dive into some of the content on there. But I'd love to connect with you over on Instagram. That's where my main kind of socials.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. Love hearing from other practitioners and just chat and recovery. So really, really appreciate your time. Maybe we'll have you back. That would be so good. You should come and do an event inside of the HA Society. Hosts. I feel like there's so many topics that you could host like a call on. We would love that.
Oh, I would love that. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the work that you're doing and the messages and information and education that you're spreading. It's so powerful and so helpful for so many women. So thank you, Danny.
No, thank you. All right, everyone. Loved it. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much, because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care, because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale September 16th through the 19th and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.